Elias had always believed that fear was a thing you could see coming. A shadow in a hallway, a scream in the dark. But what stood at the edge of the cliff that night was something that didn't fit these. The house was older than anything he'd ever seen. Not broken, not ruined, just still. Too still, like the world around it had forgotten to breathe. The locals had told him not to come here. They told him stories in low whispers, in half-remembered warnings. They spoke of people who entered the house and never returned. He didn't believe them, at least not then. The path leading up to the house was steep and winding, lined with twisted trees that seemed to lean toward him as he climbed. Their branches scraped together like old bones. Elias pulled his coat tighter around him. He had started the climb at sunset, but the sky had turned an eerie purple by the time he reached the top. The moon hung high now, pale and cold, as if time itself had skipped a step. At first he thought it was just his nerves, the crunch of gravel beneath his boots, the beat of his heart, the sound of his breath fogging the night air. But then he realized something else. No insects, no wind in the leaves, no sound but his own. The world had gone silent. The house appeared when the path turned for the last time. A massive structure perched on the cliff's edge, too close to the drop, as if daring gravity to take it. Its windows were dark. But he could feel eyes. Elias froze. For the briefest moment he thought he saw movement inside. A flicker of light, a curtain swaying. But the wind was dead still. His heartbeat thumped in his ears. He reached the gate. A wrought iron arch, rusted but unbroken. The gate wasn't locked. It wasn't even latched. It creaked open on its own, slowly, deliberately, as if it had been waiting just for him. All his senses were telling him to turn back. He should have listened. Elias stepped forward. The house loomed above him 3 stories high, though somehow it looked taller than it should have been. Its angles didn't line up quite right. Every window seemed to tilt a different way. And the roof looked like it was breathing. The front door was made of blackened wood, carved with strange patterns. He reached for the handle, but before his hand touched it, the door opened. It was strange that such an old door didn't make a single creak. Inside it was completely dark. Not the kind of darkness that your eyes adjust to. This was a darkness that absorbed everything. Even the moonlight behind him couldn't step in. Elias hesitated at the threshold, but something cold brushed against the back of his neck, a chill that felt almost alive. It didn't push him. It invited him. As he crossed the threshold, the door closed on its own. Elias spun around, reaching for the knob. But there was no knob anymore. The door was gone. Behind him, where the entrance should have been, was only a wall. His throat tightened. The air smelled faintly of dust and mold. Like earth that hadn't seen sunlight in centuries, the floorboards didn't creak beneath his boots. They didn't move at all. It felt less like standing on wood and more like standing inside a held breath. He took out his flashlight. The beam flickered across a grand hallway. Wallpaper peeled like old skin. Portraits hung on the walls, but their faces were blurred, smeared as if someone had tried to paint over them and failed. One portrait had no face at all, just a white oval. And still, Elias felt its gaze follow him. He kept walking. There was a staircase ahead, splitting into 2 curved arms reaching toward the second floor. The banisters were polished, too polished, like they'd been touched recently. He whispered, "Hello." His voice didn't echo. The house absorbed the sound. Then something answered. A soft, rhythmic hum, low, steady, like a pulse. It seemed to come from the walls themselves. He shone his flashlight toward a door on the right, slightly ajar. Every part of his body told him to leave it alone, but he stepped closer anyway. The moment he touched the handle, the hum stopped. The silence hit harder than any sound could have. He opened the door. Inside was a study. Shelves lined the walls, crammed with books that looked older than the house itself. A fireplace sat cold and blackened, but what drew his eyes was the chair in the middle of the room. A chair that was still rocking. Elias's breath caught no wind. No one else in the house, but the chair rocked gently as if someone had just stood up from it. On the desk nearby lay an open book. Its pages were blank, except for one line, written in neat black ink. The house is awake.